It's April 14th. We're here at the Balboa Island Museum with Lenard South. It's 2 p.m. And our first question is, what is your earliest memory of the island?
When I was 9 years old, we used to, my parents, my mom and stepfather, bought a place on Turquoise, 125 Turquoise, and it was like a summer house. We would come down here weekends, all summer, ever since until I grew up and left the house and got married, and still came down for weekends and some summers and things like that. So I've been down here I didn't go to school here, didn't live here, but weekends and all summer.
What year was that they moved here, approximately, when you were 9 years old?
1956, I'm going to say.
What was the community like then?
Kind of like it is now. I mean, there wasn't as many new homes, but there was, community was just like it is now, friendly and quiet, and except for Easter break and 4th of July and things like that. But it was, my memories were, I was a kid, so I was 9 years old, 10 years old, all the way up to 20. It was a lot of fun being here.
Were you ever involved with the BIYC?
No, I wasn't. I don't know if it even existed back then. I had a sailboat though. I had a Lido 14. I used to say, I did belong to, you know what it was? My father, my real father, belonged to the Balboa Yacht Club.
Okay, right.
As long as I've been around, and he got me a sailboat, and I used to sail through with that at races and things like that. Kind of like what they do now with the, what you just called it, what was it?
At the BIYC,
yes,
right?
correct.
They train the students.
Right.
So it was your father who showed you how to sail, is that
Yes,
right?
yes, my father was a huge sailor. He had a boat ever since I was born.
Do you remember its name?
My dad's
Or
name?
the boat's name?
Yes, I do. Southwind.
Southwind, very nice.
He had like 4 of them, and it was always called the Southwind.
That's great. So when did you move here, for the record?
Permanently?
Yes.
And when my mother passed away, I had to tear the house down because of the rules down here, which I won't go into because I was not a happy camper. But we had to rebuild the house, and we moved in on September 24th of 2009.
How had it changed from its earlier date for that to become a permanent resident? What would you say was most significant?
The weather. And was the best, and I've always wanted to live down here. And I was in the film business, so I had to stay up in the Hollywood area, Valley. San Fernando Valley is where I was born and raised, and always wanted to come down here. And ever since I was 9 years old, it was just a dream of mine. And when I semi-retired, I was able to do that.
Speaking of Hollywood, did you ever encounter the celebrities around the island? Do you have a favorite?
Oh, on the island?
Sure.
I've met and talked to a little bit Terry Donahue, UCLA, Mike White from Cal, coaches. These are coaches, football coaches. Mike Sosha. Don't know him well, just I've talked to him, and. Trying to think anybody else of that. No, I think that's about it, other than my mother was in the business, and my stepfather and my father, so they'd have guests down like Martin Scorsese came down, Alfred Hitchcock came down, just for like a party or something like that. Quite a few of them.
That's neat. It certainly shaped the island culture. It's neat that you witnessed it firsthand.
Oh yes.
Too.
Oh no, I love the culture here. Absolutely.
Wow.
It's just it's paradise. Why would you want to leave paradise?
So you share that, and one of our questions is, would you tell why the island has such a special place in your heart? Would there be other reasons why you...
My mother loved it so much. When my mother was a little girl, when the pavilion, or the harbor side as it's called now, that used to be a dance hall. And her mother would bring her down here, and she just loved it. So and just being down here and loving the weather and the beach, and It was just someplace I wanted to live. I never wanted to leave California, but the San Fernando Valley is a lot not as nice as down here. So I couldn't wait to move down here.
Did your mom encounter some of the early?
Well, my mother was named Violet Kane, and she was one of the Little Rascals.
Right.
She was one of the Little Rascals. Remember Darlene? Not Darla. Well, you don't know. You guys are too young. Darla had the pigtails. That was my mother. She wasn't the main star, but she was one of the characters. Yeah.
Wow.
And my father was a cameraman. He filmed every Hitchcock movie ever made. So I've been, in the business all this time. And my dad was a Seon. So when they got divorced, when I was with my dad, we'd come here. When I was with my mom, we'd come here. My dad had a place on Diamond. Can't remember the address, 100 block of Diamond. I can point out the house. And he lived there for years, and my mother lived on Turquoise. And one of I don't know if it's any good, but one of the stories is that my stepfather and my mother really loved it down here. So they decided to move down here. They bought a home on 700 Bayfront, remember that, South Bayfront. And about 2 years later, my stepfather comes and says, and I was already out of the house. So there was no children in the house, so they moved down there permanently. He said, I just cannot make the drive anymore up to Hollywood. It's just too much traffic, too much. So let's sell the Turquoise house and we'll keep the Bayfront house. And my mother said, we can't do that, we can't afford that. So he says, yes, we can. Well, in long story short, she won, as usual. And they sold the Bayfront house for $195,000, and today it's worth $7 million. And then they kept the Turquoise house, which became mine.
Wow. How has that home changed over the years since you were able
The home?
Yes.
I've had to tear it down and rebuild.
Okay.
Build a brand new home, which is absolutely beautiful.
Did you keep any of its design?
Oh, my wife kept a lot of stuff. Some of the windows, leaded glass windows, some of the leaded glass with sailboats on it and stuff, and we incorporated it into the new house for a memory,
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Would you have a favorite Balboa Island story that brings back fond memories of your childhood, or brings that inner child within you?
I'm always a child. I haven't changed. But, I don't know. There's been so many stories. But the one that I always tell my friends, and when we talk with new people that we meet on the island, it's not China Cove. What's the cave that's on the end there? I call it China Cove, but it's not really China Cove. It's where when you're going out on the left-hand side, there's a cave in there.
Yes.
I used to go there all the time with our friends and girlfriends and sleep overnight. Back then you could do that. And it was just, it was a lot of fun. Campfires and cookouts and stuff. Can't do that now, but we sure did back in those days. And another story was my father, when I was like 17, sailed over to Catalina all the time. So he would drop me off there for like 2 weeks at a time, and I'd live there on the beach with a bunch of people. Friends, or not even friends, people we met. And we'd live there for 2 weeks. And when the big white steamship used to come over there, people would throw money off, and we'd dive for it, and that's how we ate. That's how we got our hot dogs and things. So the life has been just wonderful, It's been a wonderful life. I couldn't imagine it any other way, Any better, I mean, from down here, because it was just the water. I love the sea, love the sand, I love the weather, and all those memories are great, A lot of girlfriends down here.
Do you have a special holiday memory that relates to Balboa Island, either personal or communal?
Holiday.
There's big
Christmas,
holidays.
my wife, since we've been down here, and even when I've been married to my wife for 31 years, and we come down here all the time, she just loves Christmas. So she'd decorate my mom's house, and we got the block into doing that, and stringing lights across the street, and all kinds of stuff like that. That was one of the holidays. 4th of July is always fun. I love 4th of July. We can sit up on the roof deck and watch the fireworks from many different places, and it's so crowded that we just have our own little spot. We don't have to worry about going off the island.
Right. How about with Easter week? Have you seen
Oh,
some of those?
when I was in high school, Easter week down here was, are you kidding? That's when we'd go over to what I call China Cove,
Okay.
and I'd bring some friends down, and we would just, Easter week was a riot. Got in lots of trouble, not too bad, but trouble. And it was just, a lot of fun, bring my friends down, and my mom let us have, we'd sleep in the back and on sleeping bags, and just had a great childhood down there. Can't do that up in the valley or anywhere, because here it was wonderful. You're at the beach, everybody wanted to come to the beach, And the Wedge, big time, I was a big time body surfer at the Wedge back in the day with one fin on. Back in those days, you wore one fin. And I remember one story, I was out there and some guy, when the waves come in, when they're big and they come into the breakwater, if you don't get out of there, you're gonna hit the rocks. Well, somebody did, and he broke his back, and I had to go in and get him, which I did, and brought him out, saved him from whatever else. But those are memories, that we did. That was nice to save somebody, So that was, so all those kind of memories, from coming down here on weekends, just having a ball down on the bayfront at Turquoise, and sailing and volleyball, everything, you name it. Campfires, pit fires out in on the other side, across the ferry. And I remember I got a good story. When I was like 17, maybe 18, all the ladies around the island my mother knew would give me $2, $3, $4 to go across to the fun zone where they had milk bottles back in those days. And if you knocked them all off the shelf, you got a Kewpie doll. Well, I got pretty good at it. So they would give me money, and whatever, I'd win on $1 or 50 cents, and I'd get to keep the rest of the money. And then I was so cheap, I used to swim across. To save them, I'd swim across, but have to come back on the ferry. Those days it was a dime to come back across the ferry and bring them the Kewpie doll. And then I got banned when I was only allowed 2 a day. So because I got pretty good at it.
That's great. How was that particular area transformed as well?
Well, because I was a baseball player,
Okay.
from Little League, 8 years old up until played with the Dodgers a little bit, in the minor leagues. Never made it to the majors. So I had a good arm, so it just transformed that, over into the Kewpie dolls was fun. When I went over there for the first time, I said, I can do this. Took a while, but then I got good at it, very good at it. So all those memories, the fun zone and the frozen bananas.
Yes.
Wish I had a nickel for everyone I've eaten. Now they're Balboa bars too.
Right. When do you remember having your first Balboa bar?
Balboa bar?
Yes, or frozen banana.
Frozen banana when I was 9.
Okay.
Balboa bar when they came out. I can't remember when they came out, but when they started making them, I had one. I don't remember, it's got to be 10, 15, I don't know. I just don't know when the Balboas came out. I don't remember. It didn't stick in my mind. I just had one.
Just knew. That's great. Would you please share about some of the life-changing events that might have occurred to you at the island, whether they're personal or communal?
Life-changing. I don't know. I think just being down here, I don't have any real stories other than just everybody was so friendly and so many kids, so much fun that it made me a better person in my mind, I could have gone down the wrong road really easy, and I didn't, because there was so much to do down here. I just couldn't wait to get down here. And I would love to ditch school and come down here, but didn't do that much. That's about, there's nothing tragic happened down here, knock on wood, and I don't know how to answer that any further.
Sure. Would you have a favorite story about a business on Marine Avenue, even if it doesn't exist today?
Jolly Rogers. You guys are a little too young to remember all these things, but Jolly Rogers was where Wilma's is now. And I remember that little window right there, right next to the entrance, they sold tacos. The best tacos in the whole world. And they were $1. And I remember going down and getting tons of them. That was the best. That was the best restaurant The tacos down there was the best. That and frozen bananas. Trying to think what was the Island Market was there, has been there for as long as I can remember, and always get hot dogs and hamburgers there.
How have the establishments changed over the years?
Well, I don't think it's really changed that much. Starbucks came in, but they don't do that anymore because you're not allowed to have a franchise on the island anymore. That's my understanding, and because I wanted to put something down here, to have a business down here, and you couldn't do a franchise, so I remember that. But some stores closed, they reopened under a different name, somebody else gets it, but not much has changed really in that I remember in the way of Marine Avenue, other than it looks the same if you saw it 30, 40 years ago. Today, just a little different buildings, not buildings. Wilma's we used to be Jolly Roger, things like that. There used to be a pharmacy right on the corner of Marine and Balboa across the street, and that's no longer there. Chinese restaurant's been there as long as I can remember.
Did you ever spot John Wayne in there?
No, but I did. John Wayne came to my mom's house one time.
Oh, yeah.
And we met him, and we went on his boat one time. Didn't know me from Adam, but he invited people to come on his boat. A little get together. But I don't think I ever spotted him on the island. Not that I know, other than coming to the house at one time.
Okay.
And he came by boat.
Oh, neat. That's great. Would you self-identify as an island person? That there's this term that people keep using of
An islander?
Or islander.
Well, in my mind, an islander is somebody that was born and raised here, and I was not. I was somewhat raised here, but I wasn't born here. I was born in Hollywood and grew up in the San Fernando Valley, but it was, like I said, it was down here 52 weeks a year. I'd say 45 of them, 44 of them, something like that, and all summer. Come down here after school and just stay down here. My mom would stay down here, and we'd stay here. We'd just stay here. Then when I got married, we used to come down here with the kids and stay for weekends. I had to work, so we'd come down on a Friday night and go home on a Sunday, like everybody else, and just enjoy the island. Had a place to stay.
What are your feelings crossing that bridge? Do you have emotional?
Well, the only emotional thing is my mother died here. She was 92. My father died here. He was my mother was 87, excuse me. My father was 92, and they died all at Hoag Hospital. My wife's mother, we were going to move down here, and that's why I wanted to move down here. We were going to move her in there. That was one of the stipulations. And she passed away before we could do it. It was down here where she had a stroke and went up to Hoag, and then passed away there. So there's been three deaths down here in that regard. But they were up there in age, so.
Sure. What about when you cross the bridge to come onto the island? Do you have a feeling?
Yes,
Okay. Express it.
I'm a person, and my wife wouldn't want me to say this, I hope she doesn't hear it, is that I do not like traffic. I get very, what is that thing they use?
Intense or road rage?
No, road rage.
Yeah.
Oh, but I control myself. And the traffic lights here in Orange County are the worst in the world. And as soon as I cross over that bridge, everything goes away. Just goes away. I'm now in paradise, and it's great. And then except when you go on Marine some of the times, and then after that you're fine.
Right.
It takes an hour to get off the Christmas parade and stuff. You just can't get off the island, so which we don't do. So it's great. So if you have friends down, they either got to stay overnight or leave at midnight because it's a mess. But once I cross over that bridge, I'm in heaven. I'm in heaven.
See the parade in its early form when you used to visit?
I did go to the parade, the Christmas parade, when it first started. I can't tell you what year that was. It's been a long time.
Sure.
And didn't go to every one of them, but we would make a point. We'd always come down at Christmas with my mom, so with the little kids, but that was after the parade. But we'd come down once in a while for the parade, absolutely, and the 4th of July, and the 4th of July. No, the activities, the beach atmosphere and everything is just, there's nothing you can't beat it, you know. I'm sure there's other places just as good, but this is it for me. I'm gonna die here, so this is it for me. And the people that live here and born and raised here, I consider them very lucky and very fortunate, you know.
Do you feel that strong community?
It's taken a while, you know, I hate to say this, but the people here, a lot of them are getting up there in age, so you don't meet as many, they stay in. But there's younger people coming on and stuff, and I consider I'm really 30 at heart, so we like to entertain and do stuff. And our block, Turquoise, is wonderful. We know all our neighbors, they come over all the time, and vice versa, and it's just, you know, when you lived in the valley, you go home after work at night, and that was it, you know. Other than personal friends, you know, which we have a ton of. And when we moved down here, boy, did the friends come out of the woodwork. They all want to come down here and spend the weekend, you know. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. But, you know, the memories are great, and, you know, I've sunk a couple sailboats and things like that, but, you know, that's nothing, you know, nothing out of the ordinary, you know. I'm sure you've fallen off the paddle boards, haven't you? Those didn't exist back then.
That's great.
But I still do it today, you know, I'm still water. We have a Duffy, so we go out of the Duffy a lot. Love to do, cocktail hour on the Duffy and have a ball with friends, and it's a kick, really like it.
That's great.
And the weather's perfect, and it's just beautiful. It's surreal, it's just get out there and just relax. When I see the water, I'd love to go down to the end of the street. I live in the middle of the block. I'd love to go down to the end of the street, just sit there and watch the world go by. And there's a lot of things that go on, like from May until September, we call them the beer can races. I'm sure you've heard of those. On the corner of Topaz, all the neighbors get together on a Thursday night. Everybody brings an hors d'oeuvre and a little colored water, and we sit and watch the sailboat races and kibitz and have a great time. You know, it's a friendship. A lot of friends, meet a lot of friends that way.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you for this story. Was there anything you'd like to add to this history?
No, I mean, my mother, like I said, my mother was down here all the time and dancing. I see this picture over here on the wall where my mother was 3 years old. She won a beauty contest.
My goodness.
But she was 3 and the others were bigger. And we have that picture, but not sure where it was taken. Not at that one. No, we have it at home. But that's the only picture. But I'm not sure it's here. I think it's in Santa Monica, but I'm not sure.
If you have a scanned or
we have it, but I'm not so sure it's. My wife has it. I can send it, but I'm not sure it's here in Newport. That's why I didn't want to bring it, because I'm not sure. And there's no knowledge of it.
Of anything that's kind of
we've been looking ever since Tina signed me up. We've been looking for pictures, and she just didn't take many pictures. When she passed away, we went through a big trunk full of pictures, and it was nothing about other than the old house and things like that. We have the old house. Sure, okay.
Yeah, if anything.
We have pictures of the old house, but that's about it, basically. Not of her growing up, and when we were, and then my grandfather used to rent down here, and I'd come down with him too. Like I said, the rentals were on Topaz, Appalena, South Bayfront.
Okay.
And that's what he would rent for 2 weeks at a time, and invite everybody down, and I'd always get to come.
That's great.
Every chance I could get, I loved it.
It's certainly become home to you.
Oh yes. Before all the freeways were in, it took a little longer, but it was great. I'm not that old, but it's been a while. It's been a while.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. That concludes our interview.